Hello, everybody. Welcome back again after a 2 weeks break for a session of dialogues with master homemakers. So today we have with us Desiree. She is a professional baker. She has been baking from 2011. um, she has a very interesting story, which I think you should definitely listen to her speak about her stories. She is basically a self-taught baker, and after being self-taught, she decided to get herself certified. So she got herself certified from Wilton, Singapore, where she learned various cake decorating techniques. She has been part of this baking industry for so long. For her, her entire inspiration for baking comes from from within, where she is trying to um not only give her customers what they expect, but also to impart a certain kind of joy that she feels in baking. So I wouldn't wait for too long or have her. Let me just ask her to join. Yeah, I just invited her. She will be joining us in. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Desiree.
Hi, hi.
Welcome to Dialogues with Master Home Bakers. We have been speaking to bakers across the country actually, and it was really great of you to agree to come and talk with us.
So sweet. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to
Just
be here.
actually, I
I've
I
never
can't
done
really
this.
hear you.
Oh, you can't?
Could you be a little louder?
Can you hear me now?
A
Let me,
little better.
I shall. Let me just hold it. Yeah. Maybe this will be better.
Am I audible to you?
Yes, you are audible to me.
You are audible to, just your voice is very faint.
Okay. Okay. I don't know. The volume is up, so I'm not sure where the problem is. So sweet. I have a couple of friends who've now joined.
Yeah, I can see there's Nick. I think she. Uh,
Sweet. Yeah. Yeah. So tell me. I mean, of course, I'm super nervous. You know, that's always the case. But I'm kind of looking forward. It's about time I did some more talking.
it is not at all apparent that you're nervous. You seem like a pro. So I think we're good, good to go. If you could just take us, I mean, you told me that you were into an expert firm earlier before you became a baker. From that to this, so if you could
Okay.
just take us through your journey from how
So
you started to what you
earlier
are right
days,
now.
I worked for about almost 15 years in exports, and that was my career. And I was a merchandiser, and then I quit, because of personal home reasons, my son's health. And when I wanted to go back, it just never happened because of recession at that time. And personal reasons again, separated from my husband, and I didn't want to go into exports because working hours are really long. So at that point I was looking at what could I do from home, and I think it took about a year to figure out what I want to do. And it's that point where you're at absolute breaking point is when baking came into my life. And for me, it's not me at all, because I don't see myself as like very passionate as a baker or anything. It just came and it fell in my lap. It's like God said, okay, here, bake. And I suddenly overnight found skills. People were calling me, and out of the blue, and asking me to bake stuff or make stuff for them. So it was just amazing how my life just turned from that point.
Okay, so but how did it come to baking? I agree. You said it just fell in your lap, but what
Okay.
was that
So,
particular?
in a couple of years between my job and this, I was doing corporate gifts with a friend, and we used to basically source products and package it really beautifully, and for clients. And I had a client which was BBC at that time, and I did a Christmas hamper for them, and like a presentation, and they just like, we want something homemade in here. Can you put a cookie, in here? It would be amazing for Christmas. And I had never baked a cookie in my life. All right. And I said, yeah, sure, no worries. And I go back. Of course, I have no idea. On my phone with my sister and saying, I need a recipe. And I followed it to the T, and after I followed it to the T, I took it, and I didn't know how good it was. I had no benchmark. I took it and they loved it so much that my first order of baking was 100 dozen cookies. It was a corporate hamper, and
Wow.
yes, and not only cookies, it was the whole hamper. So it was just like, suddenly you have no work, and then you're working 22 hours, and of course you love every bit of it because you're busy, and it's such an amazing high, like. And that too, it started with BBC. So from there, I thought, I'd probably do things like chocolates, but I don't enjoy it as much. And the next I did was my son's birthday cake. It was a really mommy-made cake. I, piped very, like literally a mom has first time baked a cake and tried to ice it. I did a football field. And the people who came to the party loved it and ordered cakes, and just few cakes, and it was really badly finished. I had no clue how to decorate a cake. It was just, on my own, and I put it on Facebook, and within a week I got orders for 20 kilos. Like, that's it. It was unbelievable. So I just feel it's God's grace, of course. But I never stopped baking from that point. So I'm terrible at talking about myself or, marketing my Instagram. It just about survives. But it's just, friends and clients who've kind of made me known. And it's almost 10 years now. It's going to be this year. And it's still going strong, still in there. Yeah.
So it's awesome. I mean, I'm still at the point where you told me your very first order was for those 100 dozen of cookies. I'm still thinking about that, where you actually made trial cookies. And so how did you manage with your kitchen size, and how did you come up with those 100 cookies?
So the thing, it was just me and my son at home, right? It just took over the house. There was no question about it. There was suddenly, from not having income for so long, and then having, such a big order at that time. And so also the prestige with working with such an amazing company. And so it was amazing because it's not just one, like that's one story. And then later I did some hampers, like the BBC hamper went to somebody, and from the film industry, and then they ordered, and they gave me such a big order that I actually could save money for the first time in years. And that's the money I used, because I'm making these cakes and I'm thinking, why are they ordering it from me? They look so terrible, the finish is horrible, but still people were just buying it. And if I look back, I have an album somewhere on Facebook. It's so amateur, but the taste was like, I think it was the taste. I think I would never sell something if I wasn't 100% happy with it. So I think I nailed the taste first, and everything else comes after that. So I think it was the taste why people ordered it, and I thought they were doing me a favor, by ordering cakes because it was so badly finished.
No, but I'm sure there's definitely some magic to that, because trust me, I have tried baking a cake, and my God, I mean, I can't even describe how bad it was.
So
It is horrible.
I want to tell you, before this point, I don't think I ever baked a cake properly. I never was the one in my house who baked cakes. It was my mom, and I always made Christmas sweets, because cakes was not.
Okay.
And me and my sister have tried baking cakes, and we have pictures of these 1-inch hard cakes. They never rose. They were terrible. You had to, like, literally, everybody would scrape off the icing and leave the sponge. So I don't think so I could bake till just before I started.
That's awesome too. I mean, I think you were just pushed into the deep end of the pool, and then
Yes.
you
Yes.
kind of swam your way out of there. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
So you've been in business for 10 years. So, okay, the first few orders, like you're saying, it just came your
Yeah.
way. So, since what we are talking about, when I'm talking to bakers, I'm trying to kind of give a roadmap to the other women who are watching or who probably want to enter into this industry. After the first few orders, did you have a kind of a roadmap or a strategy in place, or did you think that you should achieve so much, or did you do anything of that kind, or it was just
Okay, so I don't think so. I had such clear thoughts, for sure. But I just knew I was going one day at a time. And with the way work was going, and I felt responsible to the people I was making these cakes for, even though I didn't have any experience. I decided to, the money I saved, I did that trip and spent it at that point, which was a lot. I still went to Singapore to do that course, and like I did 3 modules, but it just was the most amazing eye opener, because at that time we didn't have these tutorials like now. You get them dime a dozen. It's so easy to make anything today, and at that time
correct,
we
correct,
didn't
correct.
have it. And it was so amazing because you used to watch like these cake shows, and you just thought they piped out everything, and then you go there and you figure out, oh, it's a stencil, oh, it's, you start realizing you need tools, and at that time those tools were not available. So it was like a Pandora box was opened, and I just knew the possibilities were endless. Like whether in decorating or whatever you wanted to do, it was available. So after that, if anybody else came from abroad, it was always like they had to bring some stuff for me. Because a lot at that time was not available. Now, of course, you get almost everything, and even as good, or if not better.
Okay, so how soon after you started taking orders did you go to Singapore?
A few months, like 6 months. Within the first 6 months, I went and did it.
Okay, so and you were so sure that you wanted. I mean, obviously going to Singapore, the course itself, the expenses would have been great. So there was no apprehension, nothing that you were so
No,
sure
I
you wanted
think
to go ahead
that
and do.
point it was very clear. The way and the response was so unexpected. It was overwhelming. It was like if there was if somebody waits for a sign, there wasn't a more clear a sign that was like, this is the way forward. Just keep going. And the more I did it, I just kept getting deeper into it, and it was amazing. And then, even though whatever you learn, Wilton has very specific teachings towards their tools. But as you work, you realize you're not so dependent on tools. You kind of start understanding different ways to do products as well. And what was just amazing at that time, I lived in a very small one-room kitchen, no AC, and I can't even imagine in the rains. I started in June, doing fondant work, and it
Yeah, I
was,
was just about to ask you, how did you do fondant work?
yeah. So I had used to have this light that used to keep all my toppers dry, and then one day purple doesn't do very well. So one side of my, like, I think it was the mule of Winnie the Pooh got faded from one side, and I had to start it all over again because the light was too strong, and pink normally goes a little off. So it was just a learning experience, and that cake, the one I did, I've done her first birthday cake, and I've done her 10th birthday cake now. So I've had clients from back then. Yeah.
Okay, and they have loyally stuck to you all these years.
100%, 100%. It's like there's no question asked. They already, like, it's like, of course you probably do her wedding cake too.
That was nice. So, so like you told me that your finishing wasn't as good when you started off to
It's
what you
terrible.
are right now. So, did that change come in after you went for the
Yes,
course,
yes.
or
I
was
think
it?
once I did the course, I knew what kind of, tools I needed, whether it was the scrapers. Early, I just worked with probably a palette knife, just basic stuff, that basic kit you probably got, you kind of worked around it. And then you figure out scrapers and, better piping bags and the nozzles and everything. We had these really weird ones, which it was like those injection kind of tools earlier for piping, and so I had all those ones. I kind of upgraded over a period of time, and I think even till today, nothing makes me more happy than buying baking tools. It's like I don't care about shoes and clothes. Any day I'd pick up baking equipment, and
The
it is a lot
technology
of
also has
investment.
definitely, the technology has also definitely improved
Yes,
from when you started off 10
yes,
years back
yes,
to
of
what it
course.
is now.
Yeah.
So when you started off, what kind of equipments did you start off with?
I
Your
think I
basic
just had
equipment.
the very basic. I bought a turntable. I had like a spatula. That's pretty much it. I used regular knives. I didn't even have those long knives. I had like, it was so bad. How we used to cut cakes with our regular ghalka knives. Now, of course, we have much better. So I think those were it, and a couple of piping bags and a nozzle. That's all I had. And then over a period of time, I bought, first we used to make our own fondant. Now, of course, I buy it. Make your fondant and then it would dry. Then you have to keep making it. And, they won't last as long as like a store-bought fondant. And so those very basic flour cutters were available and stuff like that. So yeah, it was very basic. If you ever go to my album, you'll see that. So
I must definitely make a trip to your album. I have just seen your recent pictures. I haven't really seen your
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
old album. So, and you start the ovens, etc. How were they? How did you?
Okay, this is really funny. So I lived in a rental apartment, and for a year, I used that oven as where I used to keep my raddi. Okay, and the day I got the BBC, so when I got the BBC order, I actually for the first time cleaned it out to see if that oven worked. So it was just like a blessing. I had an oven in a rental apartment and it worked. And it happened to be exactly the same kind of oven I had, in my earlier home. So it was very easy for me to operate. So I still use a gas oven. I haven't upgraded to like, the electric ovens and it works fine. I think I don't have to. So initially you go crazy with buying stuff. And in the very recent past, I worked with Haley's. Have you heard of him in Bandra? He's very famous. He's an old man, but I think he taught me you don't need to buy every little cutter, every little equipment. And I used to spend a lot of money that he just used these simple homegrown tools and he just made magic out of them. I think he has inspired me. Since then, I've stopped buying as much stuff and realized I can do so much more with what I already have. So I will though buy an oven. I need to upgrade, but in a new place for sure.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So, uh, 10 years from then to now, what is your idea of the market? How has it grown? What do you think about your
So
customers in general? I mean, from my experience, at least, it has been that people are a little skeptical of buying because of the cost factor. Otherwise, they all enjoy the cake. But the first barrier that comes, at least when I'm speaking to people, is the cost factor. Did you face that?
so initially, I think when I started off, I was a very insecure baker. Not only that, I didn't come from a business background. All right, so I had no idea what was like how to you know uh, place my product or anything. So I thought I had to be cheaper than the market rate. Okay. I thought, why will they buy from me when they can go to, one of these stores? Why, like, I just questioned, why would they buy from me? Like, in my head, because I also came from I was starting very small. So my mind had also started thinking small. So I was like, oh, they're not going to buy from me. And I was using very good product. At that time, I used to do Hershey's Cocoa. I would only use branded. I still only use branded. I never use margarine. I use pure white butter. So I'm very careful about what I use. And I happened after a couple of months, met a chef who was a friend. And so he asked me, what do you sell your cakes at? At that time, I was selling it for like whatever, so low. And he's like, okay, so you either shut or you increase your price because this is not sustainable. And I was like, but why? Why would anybody come to me and pay me more? And he said, just do it. And at that time, I changed my rates and I was just surprised. I think people kind of feel they're getting more when they pay more. And that is one thing. I don't think so. I'm on the high end of the spectrum in terms of pricing, but I don't do discounts. I just don't negotiate. I just feel if you have a budget, I'll figure a way for you to make your cake in your budget, like altering possibly the decorations or whatever. We can figure a way how you can make it, but I just don't do discounts and go lower because then I don't feel happy about it. When I know I'm getting paid for what I feel my work is worth, I actually put in more without a second thought. But I don't want to ever feel somebody squeeze me so tight that I can't do something additional if I want to. Um, Saying that, I think initially it wasn't so difficult. People just was mostly word of mouth and friends, and then it started reaching a point where I had no idea of references. Like it just came from so far that I didn't know. Others, you always knew it was a reference from somebody. Then it reached so far, like in terms of
Correct.
clear referrals, I could not trace them back. And then there was this whole phase of fondant, and people were going crazy. I feel the market since lockdown has calmed down. Nobody wants to do it for shosha anymore. They're doing smaller celebrations. They want something personalized, but not going crazy on it as well. So it's a good
Correct.
mix. I do a lot of simple chocolate cakes with simple decorations on it. It's still meaningful. It's still pretty. It's just it's not over the top. And when you talk about expense, I want to tell you, people spend more sometimes on birthday cakes versus a wedding cake. It's crazy. I think it's perspective.
I guess, I mean, people still need to get to used to the idea. So it's the market has been already, the cakes from Monjani's and similar cake shops. So I know I can see the grimace on your face. I've had
No, no,
people
no.
tell me I can get this cake.
No, but it's very simple. I honestly don't face this problem. Maybe I think it also comes from the fact that I have an old clientele, and they know the kind of product that I do. They know the kind of quality that I have maintained for so long, So I feel
Correct,
that
correct.
because of that, it's a very 1 or 2% of clients, and that to the newer ones who would possibly go back and forth a bit. And then because I'm very clear that I'm not going to budge from this, because I don't think it's, and I have to run my home at the end of the day. So I'm quite clear about that. And then once they have that first cake, right, I think then I don't have to say anything. For me, my cakes say far more than what I have to say.
Yeah. So, but like you're saying, in the lockdown, though people are not going in for all bigger celebrations, they prefer
Yes.
intimate, smaller
Yeah.
celebrations. So, and the craze for fondant has also come down quite a lot.
Yes.
A lot of people come and say they
100%.
don't want full fondant
Yes.
because
Yes.
people have become health conscious, for whatever reasons. A lot of them
Yeah.
don't want the full fondant cakes. But there have also been a lot of bakers who have come up in the last one and a half
Oh
year.
my God, like how in lockdown? I thought I may not have like a profession to go back to after lockdown, because I completely stopped baking for 3 months. I was so scared of the lockdown. So I get a lot of nicknames like Fattu and all of that. But I was really scared of the whole COVID situation. For 3 months, I didn't take a single order. But I just want to share this, and I don't know if other bakers relate to it. So, coming from where I was working, I worked out of a lot of I work to survive. Okay. I work to pay my bills, and I worked on a monthly basis to pay my bills. And I could not think of saying no to an order. So at a certain point, I used to work for 20, 22 hours, and, and I could do that for months. I just didn't know what was life other than that, because I just was so in this place that if I say no to a client, they'll go to someone else. So it was, I mean, I'm being very honest in where I came from, and that insecurity which was there about work and money and running my home. And if for anything, the lockdown was such a big blessing for me, because for 3 months I didn't work, and I realized I didn't die. I survived. Not just because of the illness, but just because financially it was okay. So for the first time, you were running, and you, without, like with blinders, and you're just working, and something forced me to stop. So for the first time, I don't know, in 10 years, I slept for 8, 10 hours. I don't know a life like this. And I kind of have got a little used to it. So I'm kind of like, I'm not sure I want to go back to working in those crazy hours. But
22 hours a day.
and it's fine. I think now I'm more discerning about the orders I take. People respect my time now, because earlier I would answer a call even at 11 in the night, get up at 11 and start baking. Now I don't do these things. So I've kind of started putting certain boundaries, borders, probably trying to balance my own life. I think my temperament has changed, because you're so wired with lack of sleep. You're just all the time so wired. My temperament has changed. In this last year, I started doing a lot of things. I'm a biker, so I go by the name Biker Baker. I ride
Yeah.
an Enfield. And in the last year, I took so much time off, and I did about 3 or 4 rides. One, my last was to I went to Goa, and I was there for 3 weeks. And I'm so glad that I'm finally able to balance my work and have fun. Yeah.
It is very essential to find that balance between your work and, but it took you 10 long years to reach that
Yeah, I don't think I was in a
balance.
position to stop earlier. I think now I'm in that place, and I think also now I'm in that place where I feel physically I am limited. Like I can only do this much with what I'm doing right now, and of course I am on getting older, and I can see my I can't push myself like that, like for days on end. So, of course, in season, we all do it. You work crazy hours, but you can't do it all the time. And I feel now I'm at that point where I have to open. Like, I have no other choice but to start a separate studio and to hire people. And that seems like a very big step from where I come. So, but it's going to happen. It has to happen. Like, there is no other choice for me right now. I feel I've reached my peak at pushing myself and doing things on my own. Yeah.
That would be the logical next step, I guess. Everybody has to grow. So you're still working from your home, right?
I still work from home. I still do everything on my own. It's during season I have like my sister who comes in and helps me because it's impossible. Then you're doing corporate orders and you're doing personal orders. It just gets it's not possible for one person to help. Like I have my aunt and all who will come and help me if needed. Yeah, they're very sweet. Yeah, yeah.
So in that aspect, family support is extremely important. I mean,
Oh,
like the
yes.
kind of life that you're talking about, 22 hours you're working. You said you had a son.
I have a son. He's now 16, and it's the amazing part is so I started. We moved when he was just a little under 6, and he is so understanding. Though how kids can be, but he respects my space. He respects my workspace. Won't mess around with it. Even now, he's really helpful. He'll help me with stuff. Of course, help me set this up because I had no idea how to do it.
Really
uh,
sweet of him.
yeah, and actually, he's the one who named Goody Baggo, and he was about 6 years when he named that, and it is such a lovely name.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's really understanding. I think he's supported me. He's grown far before his years, but he's been an amazing support for me as well. Yeah.
So all these years, you've been pretty blessed with, from what you are saying, with kind of orders that you got, the kind of connections you managed to make. Any challenges? Yes, the long working hours were there. Other than that, to get orders or to sustain yourself, any challenges, anything that you had
I
to.
I I don't think so much because it's been amazing because the connects I've had have been started through friends. So I have worked with companies like GVK for the longest time, like a close to 7 years. I did all their cakes for management and up, and I've done several other companies like that. The problem is what I probably have is when you're trying, and I stay alone, I'm single. So I think the problem I face is not having enough of minds to it when you're trying. So I say I'm tune to proprietor, and it's true I am because I do everything from the smallest thing to, decisions and paying my taxes. That for me is the biggest hurdle. It's very tough to move from a creative mode and like operations to then go into admin work and start going through your taxation, and I find that
Yeah, ensure.
huge. And I would have loved to have somebody who could just take that one aspect of my work away and do the boring work, and I don't have to look at that. But sadly, till now, I have to do it. Yeah.
Maybe you should think about hiring somebody, and then you can concentrate more on the artistic part of your
Yes, I think
vocation.
that's definitely going to happen soon. I hope this year. Yeah.
So all these 10 years, you must have had some wonderful experiences, some crazy experiences, or some funny incidents with regards to a cake or something. If you could narrate a couple of them.
I think most bakers face common things like people wanting the world on a cake but wanting to pay the price that they pay at Monjini's. It's like what? And and this happens after even 2 days of discussion. You've gone back, forth, referencing, sizing, costing, and they're like, oh no, and you're quoting some 7,000, 8,000 because it's a tiered cake and everything. And they're like, no, but my budget was 2,000. And I go like, what? Seriously, why are we talking about it for so long? Or the cutest ones are getting these SOS calls from husbands. I have forgotten my anniversary or my wife's birthday. Save my marriage. You know? So these are the cute ones that you get, and of course, then if you can, you always try and save a marriage, if buy a cake at least.
I remember Baker told me something like that, this cute experience that you said. Apparently, the husband contacted her for a cake for their anniversary, and the wife separately contacted her for the cake, and both of them wanted to surprise each other.
Wow. No, but it's very adorable. I have a lot of husbands who call, and sometimes the ones who don't do it normally in the house, it's, and it's they're so clueless, but they're just trying like so hard. Like, oh, I think she would like this. Oh, maybe I think, and you're like, how long have you been married? It's really sweet. It's really adorable.
Okay, so as an entrepreneur, I think I asked you this also, but from what I get from our conversation is you have taken it one day at a time. So even
Yes.
going ahead, do you have any strategy? Like you said, you want to start a studio on your own.
Um,
So when you start a studio on your own, so you need to have certain things in place, like a strategy, a P&L account, or what you're expecting, what your costs are going to be. Have you done any planning for that, or?
No, not really. I've just signed up for like an online course to just get a better understanding before I see the obviously the easiest thing for me right now is to get in a consultant. Okay. But before I even get that consultant for, I hopefully in the next 2 months, I'll probably be able to finish like like an online material where you can understand the whole process of starting a cloud kitchen or so. Like it's similar, right? So the whole concepts are the same.
Mhm.
So I want to understand first. I haven't thought of it. I don't have the business mind to create that. I know what you're talking, like a business plan, and I
Correct.
don't have that, and I know I'm not going to be able to do it. So I will have to get help to do that, and I will get in then a consultant who probably help me to do that.
Okay, so your journey is really amazing from what you've told me. I can't get over some of the incidents that you narrated to me. It has been amazing. And actually, I just wanted to know if you have any advice that you would like to give any women. See, at the end of the day, though you are a home baker, you are an entrepreneur at heart. So, any
Okay, so
suggestions or
I can tell
advice?
you, I have not had a glamorous baking life for sure. I think when I started, as much as I started and I would do works, I was an emotional wreck for years. It's taken and having financial insecurity is the worst thing that can happen to anybody, and not knowing how you'll pay your bills from month to month. And so through all of that, I feel this: if you stick to doing something you're good at, if you make sure that you don't cut corners. So even though I was very sure I would. I've never used ever in 10 years. I don't even. I bought a packet of margarine in my first year, but I never used it. I chucked it. I've never used. So I only want to use the best kind of products. I think maintaining quality, being consistent, and innovating and adapting to your clients' taste. Sometimes I love something, but my clients don't, and I have to keep reminding myself it's not for me; it's for them. So you have to adapt to feedback. So feedback has been, I think, the backbone of my business. I always ask for
Okay.
feedback. Sometimes, at that point you're like, but I work so hard, but still got such a harsh feedback. But it helps. Every kind of feedback helps. Whether a cake didn't cut well, or it was too soft, too sweet, or this or that, or whatever it is. I always have really, and when they give you feedback, I feel people who care give you that feedback, and I've taken it in the right way, and I've incorporated it over a period of time, and that's what makes my cakes as tasty as it is. And I feel that obstacles are always there. I don't think anybody's, from where you stand, everybody else's life seem really sort, and they have it all, and you're the only one struggling. But I don't
The
think
grass is
that's
always greener on the other side.
Yes, but I don't think so. That's true. I feel people in their own way have their own struggles, and today I want to tell you, I've been alone, I've been single, I love it. I feel I'm not answerable to anybody. I can, when you make a cake, your home becomes like, there are boxes and tools, and I don't need to keep it, a certain way for anybody. So I think I'm seeing the greener side on my side now. So I like, so it's about hanging in there and doing, I think, keep doing what you really believe in. And if you have a good product, I think you can sell it at
Basically, your
whatever
product will sell.
you believe. 100%. Because when the competition is so high, people are selling it so cheap. For you to stick to your standard, you have to stand apart by something. And if you're going to promise them good quality and consistency, I think they will come back to you. You know, yeah.
So
So there are a lot
patience,
of
consistent.
Yeah, so there are a lot of clients who come back to me, and it's really sweet because sometimes I can't take an order if I'm traveling, and they were like, "But it's 5 years, we've never even bothered to look at another baker," and it's so amazing, and it feels really good when you have that kind of loyalty, where people don't even have a second baker on hand. It just feels like such a privilege, and you become a family baker because it's not just that one person's birthday. It's like somebody's getting married, of course she will make the cake. Somebody's baby shower, of course she will make the cake. And if they don't get it from me, it's like, oh, you didn't plan it, right? That's why you got it from somewhere else. So it works both ways. Yeah.
This is amazing. I mean, stories like that keep us going. I mean, from what I've spoken to the other bakers also, they all say the same thing. It's the feedback that makes them actually get up the next morning and work these absolutely grueling hours of 20, 22 hours in a day is not, and it's backbreaking work standing in the kitchen
It
the whole
is.
day long and the decorating and bending over and
So I love certain things. Like I can spend hours on certain things, and so you will kind of find your own product that you like. Like I find doing chocolate decorations really boring, but I can spend 3 hours on one topper and feel, oh yeah, but that's just normal. Like for me, so you kind of understand what you like and what you don't like. But also, I started realizing now I tell some clients, please put a plastic toy on top of the cake. You spend like 5 hours making one figurine, and then I've done this. I've done like 5 into 5. So about five figurines on a cake. I've worked for over 20 hours, and then I go for that celebration, and in like 2 minutes, the heads, the hands, the
it's all.
torn apart, and you're like, I don't think I'll ever go for a cake cutting. Seeing all that 20 hours of work just go down in 2 minutes. But
A
people
lot
are,
of the time it is just they keep it aside. No, nobody really eats the fondant or uh,
it was the initial days where the kids loved the fondant and all of that at that time. Yeah.
you won't believe it. That day I had a customer. He's at least I think 25, 26. He wanted to order a cake just because he wanted fondant. He wanted a full fondant cake. He didn't care what flavor, but he wanted the fondant.
I have a few like these, and also things are changing. So like this, I cannot understand how, like people love buttercream. It's not my personal taste, but it's amazing how so many of my cakes now have buttercream. Like instead of fondant, I cover them with buttercream, or I do just a buttercream cake. I find it extremely sweet. So that's when I say that it's not just what I think. I have to think about what my clients want. And even now after 10 years, I have to say I have so much more to learn. Sometimes you get so used to being busy with your current menu that you stop
Correct.
innovating. And if I have a holiday, I'm not going in the kitchen. I'm not pretending to be one of those over enthusiastic bakers. It's Netflix and binge. A holiday is that. Like, don't ask me to step into the kitchen if I don't have to go there. But there is so much more I need to do. Like there are things that I get scared of doing. Like cheesecake is something that scares me for some reason. But I feel it's a constant. So 10 years or 20, I think there will always be something you can learn. There's just so much to do. It's such a vast, vast field. Now I want to do, like, I've not done simple things like a Swiss roll, and they were like, "What? You've been baking for so long, you haven't made a Swiss roll." So like that's my next mission now, to do, different kinds of
The
simpler
Swiss
things.
roll. Now,
Yeah.
now you're making me hungry and wishing I was staying somewhere close to you so that I could order.
So I recently I kind of realized that my cakes, although I put in so much, I don't think I am priced it very high. But I'm going to create a new range of cakes. So that's how I want to grow, because I realize my time is limited. How do I increase my income, right? My
Hmm.
So I feel I'm going to create, and that's my new intention, is to create higher value cakes, higher decorated cakes, and maybe more technical in terms of the kind of fillings or the decorations that I do, so that I can
Correct,
then
correct, correct.
move it up. So I want to create now a premium range of cakes as well. So let's see how it goes. So I'm not thinking about the price, because I think people, you got the right product, people will buy it. That's it. I think that's the only kind of, if there is the secret works, that's my intention. I make the product, and then the clients for it come to me. That's it. As simple as that.
Yeah, as long as you're confident. I mean,
Yeah.
when you're confident, I think the customers come and you don't have to be really bothered about it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's been awesome talking to you, Desi. I didn't even what time is it? Oh,
I don't
it's
know. I'm
6:40.
super nervous, but it's been amazing talking about it as well.
Yeah, yeah. You told me you were nervous when you
Yes.
started off. There is not even a
Ounce of it.
little bit. Nobody. You sound like a pro, as if you've been
Oh,
doing this
so
on and
sweet.
off. As good as your 10
This is
years
the
of baking,
first
you've
one.
been talking
First
10
one.
years.
And I'm glad to do it with you, Libby. Thank you so much.
It was an absolute pleasure for me as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Take care.
Uh, Bye. You too.
Bye. Bye. And thank you for all those who tuned in to watch this. So sweet of you all, and the lovely messages. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.